As we've uncovered tonight, the evil network of pedophiles included some of the most powerful and smartest minds in Britain. For years, they acted without fear of being caught, which was probably because one of their members was the second in charge of Britain's Secret Service. But the origins of their nefarious activities go back to a group called the Pedophile Information Exchange, or PI, which in the early 1970s openly campaigned for the age of sexual consent to be lowered to 4. Now, be warned, you're about to meet a member of that group who unbelievably continues to say paedophilia is acceptable. Tell us what PI was all about, the Pedophile Information Exchange.
PI was an organisation for people who had a sexual attraction to children, and we thought our illegal interest in children ought to be made legal if it concerned relations with young people who were consenting to a relationship, if they were willingly involved.
Tom O'Carroll is a self-confessed, unrepentant paedophile and one of the founding members of the Pedophile Information Exchange. He now shies away from advocating the age of 4. Too easily misunderstood, he says.
The age of 4 came into it insofar as children by that age are normally verbal and can normally say whether they are liking a particular kind of activity or not.
You believe and advocate that it should be okay for an adult to have consenting sexual relations with a child aged 10, so long as it doesn't involve penetrative sex.
Well, the emphasis here is on consenting, the willing, free, uncoerced involvement of the child, yes.
Can I ask you this, though? Do you believe still that the majority of children at the age of 10 can communicate their consent to a sexual act?
Yes, I do, yes. So I don't see that that is a problem, communicating their consent.
What constitutes consent?
The willing involvement of a child. It's really quite simple.
But how does one judge that?
That is a matter, as it is with adult consent, for the people involved.
Tom O'Carroll's self-serving views are a chilling insight into the mindset of the pedophiles who achieved positions of great power in British society. O'Carroll and 4 other members of PI were prosecuted and jailed in 1981, but a 6th member of the group was identified at the time only as Peter Henderson. He escaped prosecution. OK, I've got another photograph to show you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know this man?
I know this man.
Who is he?
This Peter Hayman?
Did he have sex with you?
Yes, we had oral, but yes.
The paedophile who called himself Peter Henderson was in fact Sir Peter Telford Hayman, deputy head of the British Secret Service, MI6, one of the most powerful men in Britain. Hayman was caught with diaries full of sadistic sexual fantasies about children. But the spy chief was allowed to walk free.
He's the one who carried the brown book.
What was the brown book?
Like a brown diary. He put notes in it.
What, so he kept notes about what he'd done to you?
Maybe what I say. He had a brown, dark book. He carried it in his pocket.
For decades, powerful men like Hayman were allowed to get away with their crimes. But even today, Tom O'Carroll argues he and other pedophiles should be allowed to have sex with children.
You keep saying, by the way, sex with children. It's not sex with children. It's sex, most people think, is sexual intercourse, penis in vagina, and a guy banging away until he gets orgasm. That's not what I mean by sex with children.
What are you talking about?
And I don't think we should talk in this sort of emotive fashion about sex with children.
What is a less emotive term?
Erotic contact with children.
And what would that involve?
Well, it might involve touching or masturbation.
In the warped view of the pedophile information exchange, the only harm caused by an adult having sex with a child occurs later, when the child is supposedly made to feel guilty about it.
If they were traumatised, they wouldn't have gone along.
You see, that's another lie that pedophiles spin. They say that the kids aren't traumatised.
No, wait a moment.
Believe me, they are traumatised, Tom.
Yes, but many years later, as a result of being told... Well, it matters because they would not have been traumatised but for being told that they had been abused.
So this is the point. You'd say that it's not the pedophile that's caused the abuse, it's the responsible authorities like the police and their parents. Yes,
absolutely, absolutely.
So you don't accept that having sex with a child can cause any kind of...
Let me tell you, we're getting peculiarly hysterical. Many years later, when people are told that they have been abused and it keeps being rammed into them from the media all the time, then that is the feeling they come to get. They come to think, I must be traumatised because people keep telling me so.
Okay,
That's how it happened.
Can I put to you, there's something in your book. There's a section in your book where you describe the scenario of a little girl sitting on a man's knee.
Yes.
And you describe approvingly how sexual relations with that little girl can be, quote, negotiated by hints and signals, such as complimenting her on her knickers and testing her response.
Yeah.
And what would be the adequate response from that little girl, Tom?
Enthusiasm.
What would that constitute? How would the little girl show you enthusiasm for you wanting to have sex with her?
Let's move away from...
No. Let's stick to this issue.
Well, all right. Let's stick with the issue, but let me address it in my own way.
The little girl's sitting on your knee, and you've just told her, I like your knickers.
Let me address it in my own way.
What does that little girl do to indicate that she's willing to consent to have sex with you, Tom?
How does somebody indicate willingness to have consent to anything?
A little girl cannot possibly be a consenting partner in that kind of power relationship. She's sitting on your knee, for God's sake.
Yes, she can.
You're an adult.
Yes, she can.
You used the term enthusiasm. What does that little girl do to indicate that she's enthusiastic?
I think that we're going round and round in circles.
No, what is the answer?
We're going round and round in circles. I've given you my answer multiple times, so I'll finish there.
Which is a non-answer. You just can't answer.
Well, you think it's a non-answer. I think it's an answer. All right.
Disgraceful secrets are only now coming to light. Men occupying some of the highest positions in the land, whose depraved crimes have scarred a generation of children. But for the victims of this scandal, for those who have lived their lives in pain, there is no walking away from this fight. You realise it's going to boil down to the word of a woman 20 years on, remembering what happened to her when she was between the ages of 6 to 11 years old.
Yeah.
They're really going to go your credibility, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm ready for that because I've been very open about my life and everything that's gone on in my life. There's nothing that... I've got nothing to hide.
I'm lucky to survive, but I survived. Some of the others didn't. I'm the door that opens up everything.
And to those men who abused you, you are their worst nightmare.
Yeah.
They're going to be lying in bed at night worried that Richard Kerr's evidence is going to catch up with them.
They're going to get a knock on the door.
We'll be sure to keep you updated on the progress of the police investigation. And remember, you can join the conversation about tonight's show by using hashtag 60mins. Still to come...
It's always good to have the safety on.
Go! Watch out, Charlie. There's icebergs about.
Do you love an iceberg?
Saddling up with the coolest of cowboys.
Larry Woosters, take back on. Let's go back in slow.
We can't understand a word you're saying.
Oh, that's all you got to do is leave the anchor on the bottom.
To hunt down $1 million iceberg.
You're quite a character.
Let's go.
That's next on 60 Minutes. Sadly, we'll probably never know just how many innocent children became victims of the pedophile gang operating at the highest reaches of the British establishment. Certainly, we know of dozens, if not hundreds, of state wards who were trafficked from institutions to be used as playthings of the rich and powerful. But others were literally picked out and abducted off the streets of London, including the teenage son of the chauffeur to the Australian High Commissioner. One of the great mysteries is a case now being re-investigated by British police. The disappearance and almost certainly the murder of a 15-year-old boy named Martin Allen. You smell a cover-up protecting the toffs, don't you?
I smell rats of the highest order.
Kevin Allen is Martin's brother. At the time Martin went missing, their father Tom was personal chauffeur to the Australian High Commissioner. So this is the car that your dad drove?
Yeah.
With the number plate Oz1?
Yeah, AUS1.
One of the perks of their dad's job was a big house here in posh Kensington, right next to the High Commissioner's own residence. What a beautiful, idyllic place for a young lad to grow up.
Yeah, this is where we lived.
But that happy life was about to be shattered. It's the 5th of November, 1979. 15-year-old Martin is heading home from school. A witness tells police he sees Martin being led onto a train by a tall, blonde man in his 30s. He's holding Martin by the scruff of his neck, and the boy is clearly distressed. They only go one stop. They get off here at Earl's Court. And as they're heading out through the station, the man is overheard to say to Martin, "Don't try to run." The only problem is that witness only comes forward weeks later when he sees the boy's face on the TV news. And of course, by that time, it's too late. The trail's cold, and young Martin is never seen again. In the 36 years since your brother disappeared, has there ever been any leads, any information?
No,
Has his body ever been found?
no. No, it's like he was abducted by aliens.